Good morning students. Chapter 3, Tissue Level of Organization. In the last class we have discussed about the connective tissue and their types. There are 3 types of connective tissues: loose connective tissue, dense connective tissue and specialized connective tissue. Already we have discussed about the loose connective tissue, and in today's class we are going to discuss about the dense connective tissue. So the other name for dense connective tissue is connective tissue proper. So in the dense connective tissues, the fibers and fibroblasts are compactly packed. So hence the name dense connective tissues. That is, the fibroblast and the fibers are compactly packed in the dense connective tissue. And orientation of fibers show a regular or irregular pattern, and it is called as dense regular and dense irregular tissue. So when the orientation of fibers show a regular pattern, it is called as dense regular tissues, and when the orientation of fibers show a irregular pattern, it is called as irregular dense connective tissue. And if you take the dense regular connective tissues, they primarily contain the collagen fibers in rows between many parallel bundles of tissues and a few elastic fibers. And the major cell type in the dense regular connective tissue is the fibroblast, and it attaches the muscles and bones and withstands great tensile stress when pulling force is applied in one direction. So when the major cell type is fibroblast, and it attaches mainly the muscles and the bones and withstands the great tensile stress when pulling force is applied in one direction. This connective tissue is present in tendons. So what are tendons means? They attach the skeletal muscles to the bones, and ligaments attach one bone to the other. So tendons, the main function of tendons is it attaches the skeletal muscles to the bones, and the main function of ligaments is it mainly attaches one bone to the other. Dense irregular connective tissue have bundles of thick collagen fibers and fibroblasts which are arranged irregularly, and here the major cell type is fibroblast, and it is able to withstand the tension exerted in many directions and provides the structural strength. And some of the elastic fibers are also present, and it is mainly found in the skin as the leathery dermis and forms the fibrous capsules of organs such as kidney. Usually kidneys are covered by capsule, isn't it? So mainly it is found in the skin as the leathery dermis and forms fibrous capsules of organs such as kidney, bones, cartilage, nerves and joints. And elastic connective tissue, it contains the high proportion of elastic fibers. So as the name elastic connective tissue, it mainly contains high proportion of elastic fibers. It allows the recoil of tissues following stretching. It maintains the pulsatile flow of blood through the arteries and the passive recoil of lungs following the inspiration. It is mainly found in the walls of large arteries, ligaments which are associated with the vertebral column, and within the walls of the bronchial tubules. So this is about the dense connective tissue. Next is the specialized connective tissues. So what are specialized connective tissue means? They are classified as cartilage, bones and blood. So under the specialized connective tissues, cartilage, bones and blood. The intercellular material of cartilage is solid and pliable and resists compression. So cartilage means in Tamil we will say kuruthelumbu. It is usually soft and flexible. Cells of the tissues, that is chondrocytes, are enclosed in small cavities within the matrix which is secreted by them. And most of the cartilage in vertebrate embryos are replaced by bones in adults. So where is this cartilage is present means it is present in the tip of the nose, outer ear joints, ear pinna, between the adjacent bones of the vertebral column, limbs and hands in the adults. Next we will see about the bones. So if you take the bones, they are hard and non-pliable, that is they are non-flexible and they are very hard. So they are hard and non-pliable ground substance which is rich in calcium salts and collagen fibers which give strength to the bones. So the bones are made up of calcium and phosphorus. It is the main tissue that provides structural framework to the body. So the bones only provides the structural framework to the body, and the bones only support and protect the softer tissues and organs. So it only protects the inner organs and tissues. The bone cells, the name of the bone cells are called as osteocytes, are present in the spaces called as lacunae. So the bone cells, osteocytes, are present in the spaces called as lacunae. Limb bones such as the long bones of the legs serve weight bearing function. So if you take the femur, so which is the longest bone in our body, so it mainly, that is, serve weight bearing functions. They also interact with skeletal muscles attached to them to bring about movements. The bone marrow, so bone marrow means inside the bone. The bone marrow is the site of production of the blood cells. So the blood cells, mainly the RBCs, are produced in the bone marrow. Next we will discuss about the blood. So the blood is the fluid connective tissue which contains mainly plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. So blood is a fluid connective tissue and it contains the plasma, that is the liquid part, and the solid part are the RBC, WBC and platelets. Main functions are that it acts as a transport medium for the cardiovascular system, that is the heart. So the blood only acts as a transport medium for the cardiovascular system, and it carries nutrients, waste, respiratory gases throughout the body. So all these functions, that is the nutritive functions, respiratory functions, are carried out through the blood. So in this picture you can able to see the specialized connective tissues, that is the cartilage and bone and blood. Next we will discuss about the muscle tissues. And if you take the muscles, each muscle is made up of long cylindrical fibers arranged in parallel arrays. These fibers are composed of numerous fine fibrils called as myofibrils. So if you take the muscles, each muscle is made up of long cylindrical fibers arranged in parallel rays, and these fibers are composed of numerous fine fibrils called as myofibrils. The main function of the muscle fibers are contract, shorten in response to stimulation and then relax. So the main function of the muscles are contraction and relaxation, and return to their uncontracted state in a coordinated fashion. So what are the main functions of the muscles? Means they play an active role in all the movements of the body. Mainly the movements of the body are performed by the muscles and the bones. And if you take the muscles, they are of three types. One is skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles and smooth muscles. So these are the three types of muscles: skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles and smooth muscles. So skeletal muscle, if you take the skeletal muscle, so this is the diagram of the skeletal muscle. So the skeletal muscle tissue is closely attached to the skeletal bones. So these skeletal muscle tissues attached closely to the skeletal bones, hence the name skeletal muscles. In a typical muscle such as the biceps, the striated skeletal muscle fibers are bundled together in a parallel fashion. A sheet of tough connective tissue encloses several bundles of muscle fibers. So if you take the skeletal muscles, they are very closely attached to the bones, hence the name skeletal muscles. So it is found in the biceps. The striated skeletal muscle fibers are bundled together in the parallel fashion. and a sheet of tough connective tissues encloses the several bundles of this muscle fibers. So this is about the skeletal muscles. And in the skeletal muscles you can able to find the striations, isn't it? Next is the smooth muscles. So in this picture you can able to see the smooth muscles. The smooth muscle fibers tapers at both ends. Tapers means it becomes very narrow or sharper at both the ends and do not show striations. You cannot able to see the striations in the smooth muscles. Cell junctions hold them together and they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheet. The walls of the internal organs such as the blood vessels, stomach and intestine contains this type of muscle tissue. So this type of muscle tissues can be found on the internal organs such as blood vessels, stomach and intestine. Smooth muscles are involuntary as their functions cannot be directly controlled. So they are involuntary muscles and their functions cannot be directly controlled. Unlike the smooth muscles, the skeletal muscles cannot be controlled by merely thinking. So this is about the smooth muscles. Next is the cardiac muscles. So where this muscle is present means it is present in the heart, hence the name cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscle tissue is a contractile tissue present only in the heart. So these type of muscles, these are special type of muscles only found in the heart and their main function is contraction and relaxation. Cell junctions fuse the plasma membrane of cardiac muscle cells and make them stick together. Communication junctions, that is intercalated disc at some fusion points, allow the cells to contract as a unit. Mainly the cardiac muscles contract. When one cell receives a signal to contract, neighbors are stimulated to contract. So when one cell receives the signal to contract, the neighbor cells also contract. So this is about the cardiac muscles. So there are three types of muscles: skeletal muscles, smooth muscles and cardiac muscles. Go through the topic. Thank you.